So just as a reminder, Comcast lost 10,000, Spectrum lost 42,000, AT&T lost 340,000 in their non-fiber markets. T-Mobile added 560,000 subscribers. They now have 1.5 million people on their home broadband service, their 5G home, whatever they call it, 5G.
And
5G
in that same
5G
press release, Gabe, T-Mobile specifically said, we are not done. We are going to go out and get several million additional customers. So, I mean, if we think they've been aggressive to this point and they're really, having that growth we see now, they want to double that number. They don't want to stop at 1.5. So I think it's just a very important thing to think like, maybe, I don't think of T-Mobile as being a competitor. But in reality, they likely are.
I think they are, and they're going to continue to become a more formidable competitor as we move forward. There were. I'm always a little dubious of what executives say in earnings release calls, but I did think a couple of things were really interesting that came out of the T-Mobile call. So they talked specifically about what they called, and I'm just going to read this really quick because I have it in my notes here, dissatisfied suburban cable customers and underserved customers in smaller markets. But they said that 2/3 of their new customers in Q2 of that 560,000 were dissatisfied suburban cable customers. So they are absolutely taking share from these, larger national cable providers for sure. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. The other product that they've introduced just in the last really couple of quarters is they actually have a prepaid high-speed internet option, which I think is really interesting because, I always feel like, and maybe this is, I'm not trying to be like elitist with my, trying to throw shade at T-Mobile, but I always felt like T-Mobile was like the cheap internet carrier, right? Like AT&T and Verizon were the premium carriers and T-Mobile was the cheap one. And, they were better at selling, prepaid and, some of these things. Maybe that's just my perception.
I think we've got different perceptions here, Gabe. I to an extent, I understand, T-Mobile's the cheap. They have made significant network upgrades in the past 5 years, specifically, I'll say. I'd argue since 2017 is when I noticed it. But part of that is, I don't know, do you remember their last CEO, John Ledger, by chance?